Alrighty. Did she? I don't know if this joint is still like this or she was called. Aayanna, did you go back out and come back in? Cause your joint's still frozen. I don't want to bring your joint on screen and you got this damn freeze frame right. I mean, it's not that bad, but you know what I'm saying. I don't want to what you call it. I don't want to do you like that. Let me go ahead and promote right quick, real quick. Oh, okay. I think we good now. Hey, okay. Hold up. Let me get this together. Get it together right quick. What's up, y'all? What it do? We're not gonna waste no time because our guest is in the building. We ain't gonna waste no time because she ain't waste no time with us. Okay. First of all, hold on, let me say this too before I bring her on. My bad, y'all. I've been kind of went incognito for a couple days. You know, I was supposed to do the show Friday, but shit got fucked up. My bad. Then we was gonna move it to Sunday, but and I was gonna go live Friday and I was gonna go live Sunday. But you know what? We hit now with it. I'm gonna go live again tomorrow. I got y'all. I'll be back. Okay. I'll be back. I mean, I'm gonna be here. We're gonna keep it consistent this week. Keep it consistent. Last week and the week before I was slacking, but this week we back on track. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's get into it. Shout out to the Patreon members in the building. And we have a wonderful guest on tonight. Special guest. I want y'all to give her a warm welcome to Goddess Aayanna.
Peace, family.
What's up, shorty?
Not much.
You been good?
I have been, they disabled my IG, so I am gathering myself with that. But
I'm glad you said that because I want to get your up here too. Hold up, let me make sure I get your shit up here. Your IG is Divine Stargate, right?
It's Divine Stargate 1.
Divine Stargate 1. Heard that. And then your what is it called? Hold up. Let me get a little bullshit emoji. Dang, I'm tripping. My bad, I'm slacking. I meant to ask you this before. I forgot. Totally, I would have asked you right there. Okay, hold up. All right, and then your what else you got? Twitter? You got Twitter?
Yeah, it's Goddess Aayanna. I need to download Twitter on my phone.
Oh Lord. All right, and your
Facebook.
What? Facebook. All right.
Goddess Aayanna.
Goddess Aayanna. Got you. Okay. Hey, your cash app.
Goddess Aayanna. Hey.
Bet. All right. Goddess Aayanna. All right, we up in this thing. Cool. So, I usually let the guests introduce themselves. So why don't you go ahead and give the audience a quick brief introduction of yourself.
Well, I am a Black revolutionary and Black familyist. The Black family is first for me. Black people are only for me. I love my people. I speak up about the things that we go through. I do a lot of things on astrology and spirituality and health and, just overall holistic living. So that's me, Goddess Aayanna. Oh, and I make devices that absorb EMF radiation for a living. But, everything I do is out of passion and love for my people. So
as you should. That's a blessing. Okay, and just you are FBA, right?
I guess just off of the fact that I am, yeah. But I don't necessarily know all the views of the FBA as a political organization or whatever.
Oh, it's lineage. That's just lineage. That'd be
Yeah, lineage wise, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But you did. I remember we spoke in what you call it in Florida,
Tampa.
and you was telling me you spent some time in what did your parents do? Were they like in
South Korea? They work for the Department of Defense. So they weren't in the military, but it's like I'm a military brat. So I stayed around military bases. I went to school on military bases. I graduated overseas at a military base. So yeah.
Jeez. Okay. So how long was you overseas though?
Altogether 13 years.
Jeez. And what was you at?
South Korea.
South Korea. Okay. Well, over there, I'm kind of curious about your experience because we know that of course. So if y'all can see that, y'all can read the damn title. This is about conscious Black single motherhood. Okay, so I could imagine. I know the single motherhood here, and as far as Black America is pretty high. You know what I'm saying? But I would imagine in South Korea, is their family dynamic a little bit different? What was the difference in culture you noticed over there from
as far as Koreans?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they definitely don't have a lot of single moms. That's definitely not a thing over there. It might be more so around the military bases where soldiers may get them pregnant and dip out. But yeah, no, they're very proud. Koreans are very proud people. They're very family oriented, and they definitely build off legacy. Yeah, they're very spiritual and holistic people. So yeah, Korea, I like living in Korea. I like living over there far more than I like living over here, just because you don't have the anxiety of police, on your ass. And, if you see the police officers, you're not scared. You don't get that anxiety when they, you see them in the rear view or something. It's much more peaceful over there. But of course, they care about their people. So they make sure they're healthier. They make sure that they're more successful. They set their systems up like that. They support their people.
Okay. And what did you learn from your more specifically about relationships and femininity? What did you learn from your parents? What did they teach you about that? Did they raise you to be a wife?
Yeah, my mom is still. They're married. They're married now. My mom is a Southern woman. She's from Mississippi. My grandmother, her mother had 12 children by my grandfather, who passed away when my mother was very young. She was one of the last children. And so, it was a very traditional upbringing. My parents were very strict. They were very loving towards each other. I've never seen my father raise his voice at my mom, besides being loud and rambunctious because he's a Sagittarius. My parents never argued in front of us. They never, they had there was one incident I can ever remember. My parents were really, my mother was really going at it with my dad, but my mother always cooked. She always cleaned. My father, I never growing up, never took the trash out. Like the things like that was very foreign to me. You know what I mean? Like they operate in a very feminine, masculine way. Even though my mother made almost as much money as my father, and they both made very good money. My dad paid all the bills. My mother's money was for vacations and investments and things like that. So I saw them work in a very teamwork like fashion. But of course, because my mother did work, it was somewhat modern and somewhat traditional. But my mother, anytime she wanted to take off of work, she would take a year or two off here and there. She could do that because my father provided. But yeah, it's very, very beautiful. One of their relationship is probably one of the healthiest relationships I've ever seen.
Beautiful. How long have they been together?
Ooh. Don't get me to lying. I'm 31. They were married a few years before they had me. Maybe 35, 40.
That's a blessing. Nah, that's a blessing. Over 10, shit. That's good. That's yeah. They in there. They doing the right thing. Now,
right.
You said it was a mix of modern and traditional. Did they push you more towards being a wife, having children, the traditional lifestyle that they want you to explore, get a career, education, which did they push you towards?
Yeah, so it was a mixture of both. I think that my mother, because my mother was so feminine, she was very catering to my father. Naturally, I naturally understand how to maintain a home. I have been married before. Both of my children.
Oh, we're gonna get it too.
You said what?
I said we're gonna get it too.
Oh. Okay. But yeah, so their dynamic, yeah, definitely. Well, my mother though, she was very adamant about me being able to do for myself. And so which was a very weird, because my father was with, they since college, they've been together since college. So but yeah, I guess because she saw how times were and financially, my parents definitely wanted me to have a career and things like that. They didn't necessarily support the idea of me quitting everything and quitting my job and, things like that to, work on my business. But here I am now. It's pretty successful. So, yeah, it was a bit of both.
Okay. Well, what age did you get married?
21. I was 21 when I was
Oh,
married.
you was kind of young. You was pretty
Yeah,
young.
I was.
Okay, so but you moved back to Korea when you said you were 17?
No, I didn't. I moved away from Korea right before I turned 21.
Oh, okay, right before you turned 20. So, did you do like right before you got married? How did you meet your husband? How did like what was that like?
So he was my best friend at the time. Was his best friend slash, because they're like family. His best friend slash cousin's girlfriend slash baby mama. And I was actually in Korea when we first started talking. I would just, be on the phone with them. And he was a music engineer. He's also a computer engineer. But he, wanted me to push some music. I was working at some really hot clubs in Seoul at the time. So I was playing, getting their music played overseas. And we just, we used to just vibe out on the phone. And, before I even moved back to the States, we got really close over the phone for about a year. We were talking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, he was a close friend. He was a very close friend.
Oh, so how long did you date before y'all got married? When you actually came here?
When I came here, we probably dated about 2 months, and we literally consider ourselves married about 2 months in, and we got a marriage license right after I had my daughter, which I didn't need. I was never into necessarily needing paperwork. So, but yeah. So.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, right before you met him, how was your dating life before then? Because you was, was you dating in Korea? What was that
like? Yeah, we had soldiers. The soldiers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had my first love over there, and this is very short. Like I was 19 when I had my first love or whatever, and so. I actually started, becoming friends with Phil shortly after I stopped when me and my first love broke up. So, I dated some G we call them GIs or whatever, but how that goes.
All right. Now, is your husband older than you, or was your I'm sorry, your ex-husband? Was he older than you?
A couple years older than me.
He's couple years older than you. Okay.
Not much, yeah.
Okay. Well, how far into your marriage did you have your child again? You said you got your license right after you had your child.
Right after I had Leah, yeah, my daughter.
So that was like a year in on a dot.
You said what?
Was that like a year in on a dot? Because y'all was married for 2 months. You came here. You was married for 2 months. I mean, y'all got together after y'all was married after 2 months.
Yeah, you had a child. We considered ourselves married after 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
super young and in love and all I knew was to be a wife. Honestly, even previous in my previous relationships before Phil, I functioned immediately. I functioned in that kind of realm because that's how I seen my mother function. So So yeah, it just went right in smooth there. And yeah, then we got the marriage license when Leah was a few months old. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you was cool with being a wife then. That was something you didn't have any. Did you have any pullbacks though? Were you kind of scared to be
Absolutely
so young?
not. Nope.
Okay, nope. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
That's a blessing. Yeah, because a lot of young girls, I even have younger cousins who's like, nah, they're 21, 20. Like, hell no, I'm not getting married. I'm too young. I'm in my prime. I want to, that's for a lot of millennials, Gen Zers, that's the, the idea they're kind of scared of marriage or, commitment, especially at that early age. But how was it stepping into that role, especially after having a child? Did anything change for you after you had a child?
Well, you gotta understand, once again, the paperwork was really unnecessary for me. So I was functioning as a wife before we even got the paperwork. So nothing really changed after we got the paperwork. We were still living together. We were still, married. We were still functioning like that. But just I loved it. I loved it. Honestly, being not necessarily the relationship got rocky, but I loved being a mother and a wife. Like, I enjoyed that. I feel like I excelled at that. I was always able to handle my part of the relationship. And the majority of my relationship, I was working. So, yeah, I liked it. It was smooth, I was breastfeeding. I was happy. I was, I'm still happy now, but I'm, it was just young. It was just vibrant. Like, it just felt natural to me. Like, it feels weird to me not to want to be married as a young woman. Like, I never, my parents were strict, I guess. I don't know. They had such a healthy relationship. I didn't have any, fear of that. I was ready for that. Like, that's what I'm made for. Okay, we get in here, we get married, and we build an empire. That was my mindset. So, I never had any grievances or any concerns. And maybe I should have at least had some more precautions. You know what I mean? But no, I stepped into that role, and it was smooth.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when after you had your I'm not sure. Hold on, not after you had the child.
My son.
Your son. Yes, your son. I was about to say, hold on, did she have you? I'm pretty sure you have. I didn't want to fuck that up. Okay, but after you had your son, you had your son, but y'all was still together when you had your son?
Yeah. We were actually on the brink. I wanted to get a divorce before I found out I was pregnant with my son.
Okay.
Yeah. So then that was 2 years in, 2 years in. So 3 years in, 2 years in. So once I found out once we found out I was pregnant, of course we were trying to work it out or whatever. So we remained married for 2 more years, and then we divorced.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I want to know too. I'm kind of curious. How was your experience with, especially because y'all was so young, 21. You said he was a couple years older. How was it stepping, or how was it staying in, having to stay in or trying to stay in your feminine role with such a young brother? I have a lot of friends that's in couple that's in relationships right now with young dudes, 21. I mean, even a little bit older, 24, 25. And it's still a little hard for them. It's a tug and pull of power, because it's like the guy, he's still kind of learning to step into his masculine, to step into his that leadership, head of the house, whole, position, especially because so many black men didn't have that example growing up. They have trouble stepping into that. They try to figure shit out on their own, for at least for a lot of them, So how was your experience with that?
There was trouble in those waters, because initially it took a couple years for me to get tired of the fact that I felt like I was leading a lot of the decisions. When I first got with him, he was working for his father, who was very successful in Florida, in Orlando. And, like I said, I started working shortly after we moved in Orlando, but his father didn't grow up with his father. His father stepped into his life after he was like 20, 21. And even then their relationship was kind of rocky. So, and he was raised by a single mother. And so there was a lot of things that, where he could have stepped up. And there were a lot of places where I did step up and fulfill roles that I probably shouldn't have had to fill. And ultimately it led to our divorce. So it was difficult. But because I'm feminine, naturally feminine, it's just, I'm going to be feminine. But at the same time, it took years to the point where I was like at the level where I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm nagging you about taking out the trash. It's been 3 days. I asked you to take this trash out. I'm gonna just take it out myself. And now we have an issue, or we have some resentments or something like that. We never had any major like cheating or anything. But we did, would get into it. And I also feel like the fact that his father wasn't around was one of the reasons why it was so easy for him to be violent with me. Resentment towards, really probably resentment towards his mother, because his mother her mouth could be very vicious. But I'm very understanding that she was a single mother of 4 children, and she was very young when she had her first children. So, there was a lot of things in there. But I feel like if there was no violence, then I would probably still be married now.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I was about to get into that next though. What exactly was the main reason why? Because for the most part, women are primarily the main ones that file for divorce. That initiate the divorce process and things of that nature. Especially for black people, black women in general. Speaking, they usually are the ones that file. So even if it's not just yourself, though, do you think that a lot of couples, a lot of people get married for the wrong reasons, but a lot of people get divorced for the wrong reasons? Do you think generally, do you think a lot of us give up or leave divorce, even if it's not, like I said, again, if it's just separation, if you're not married, do you think we give up on our relationships too soon? We don't exhaust all of our options first?
I think the real issue is that we don't really know how to relationship. A lot of us don't know how to relationship because we didn't see our parents' relationship properly. And so a lot of us not necessarily get involved for the wrong reasons, but we don't know how to structure our relationships from the get-go in ways that would satisfy both parties and set out certain things like, okay, this will be you, this will be me, this will be you, this will be me. We can work on this together. And because there's a severe lack of structure, that's what leads to a lot of the divorces later on in our community. Now, I do believe that a lot of us don't try hard enough to work out our relationships, but I do feel like, once again, a lot of us just don't have that structure, that foundation that we need to have in the beginning. Certain things set up in a certain way in the beginning, which oftentimes leads to the demise. And of course, the trauma that's in our community that's so prevalent because of all the things that we've been through, all the experiences that we've had, the atrocious things that we've had done to us over here. I think a lot of that has a part to play in it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to know, for you personally, what do you think is the biggest lesson you learned from being married?
Don't entertain men that you can see that you're more dominant than.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Go. What was you about to say? Was you about to say something?
Yeah. So like, if I recognize a man is kind of timid around me, things like that, things where, if I can sway his energy too easily, or if, you know what I mean, because that's a little bit more feminine. And so I like men who are very divinely masculine. Those are the type of men that I date now versus, you know, emotional men. Like, honestly, he was very emotional.
Egregious. Was your father a part of your process of vetting him before y'all got married?
No, absolutely
Why not?
My parents and I have an interesting relationship. Now I was very much a daddy's girl when I was younger, but you got to also understand, I grew up in a very detached way because my father traveled a lot. He had to, be in and out a lot. And yeah, we just didn't, we talk, we have good conversations sometimes, but we just weren't that close. As far as letting them in, because I rebelled a lot in my teen years, and they were like, my mother was very controlling, a little, extremely so, very dangerously so. And my father was always the mediator, but he often just tried to stay out of it. So, you know what I mean? No, we just don't have that type of relationship now. We didn't have it then. Yeah.
Do you think that's something that a lot of, at least for the younger ones, millennials, Gen Zers, and the ones that was around your age when you get married, 20, 21, 19, early 20s, do you think that's something that they should have? Their fathers,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a huge issue in our community. Is like, the reality is, we don't have somebody, a lot of us don't have somebody to protect us during the dating process. So a lot of us get, we get played, or we get, we think something's going to be more serious than it actually becomes, or this and that, because we're not letting somebody vet the men that we date. We don't have a barrier between, we can't be completely objective, because we are in it, you know what I mean? So I think it's very important to have a mature set of eyes tell you what they see and allow you to choose from there. But you know, I'm all for arranged marriages too. Like you know, I think that you know, we marry for Disney love now, and I think
Yeah.
that that's not what's lasting. Love, you know, Disney love isn't necessarily real. It's just a pretty romantic fantasy love. And I think that we watch a lot of these, you know, Disney growing up and a lot of these movies growing up that program us to feel like marriage is this, or the ideal relationship is this, when really the ideal relationship is balance between structure, long-term goals, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
the way you move, the way you communicate, and as well as love. But I don't even think that love should be the founding reason for anyone to get married.
Really? Would you think it was a lot of people think and that's it's a big conversation going on now. Is marriage about business or love?
Yes, marriage is
Yeah,
very
or about
much about
business.
business. Yes, absolutely. And I think that the Black community should look at marriage as business a little bit more, so that we could structure our marriages to be more financially stable and beneficial to our children, and set
Mm.
them up so that they can better set your grandchildren up, and they can, you know what I mean? Like, we have to look at it like that. You know what I mean? Um, if
Yeah.
we really want to use marriage as a tool that it can be.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, Now, when you after you finally went through the process of actually getting divorced, how was that transition to actually being a single mother now? You know, because now it's not two
So
people in the house. How was that process?
So, I mean, we ended up actually, you know, when you're dealing with somebody, you know, that you're married to, the separation took longer. The separation took longer than the divorce, to be real,
Okay.
because um, we got the divorce and I moved to Jackson, and shortly after he moved in with me. Um, and for the next couple years, we would be on and off living together, just because it was more financially easier. And then, you know, we were both going to school, so we would make our schedules around each other and watch. We wouldn't be living in the same, necessarily the same room,
Mm.
but you know, we were still living in the same home for some time. And this would happen, you know, on and off for a few years. So, you know,
Okay.
it was a process, I'll say. It's you know, once you're so deeply entangled in someone, it's very hard to completely, you know, remove, or it takes time to completely remove all of them from you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah.
And you had your how old was your daughter and your son when this happened?
My son was just walking. He was just learning to walk. So he was just a little bit younger than one. He might have been 10 months, 10 months.
Jeez.
Uh Leah was 2, almost 3. And yeah, so they were very young when it happened, and it absolutely was difficult for them, but at the same time it wasn't as hard as, like, if we were to, like, completely to break easily, like completely separated, because we were still living together often, so they were still experiencing both parents in the home for some time, which really confused my son, and he probably had a more overtly hard time when we really split. um and he's probably just now, within this year, is he's not asking me anymore if his father can spend the night, you know what I mean?
Oh.
So yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, did that bring any hesitation? Like, especially when y'all first separated, was there any hesitation to kind of go back, especially because you had two kids now? Was it, you know?
Hell no, I didn't hesitate. I was done. No, I was completely done. Like I said, for me, like, it's just so much violence that you're willing to allow yourself to go through. But it's
Mm.
another level when your children see you getting your ass beat across the floor, getting a black eye and bleeding out of your nose. So once
Mm.
certain things happened, it was absolutely a dud for me. And yeah, so yeah, I didn't hesitate. I knew I was never going to get back with him. But there, of course, on his end, he was still trying. I mean, if I told him to this day, like, okay, let's get married again, I'm good, he would be ready, like nobody's business. But you know, for me, it was just an absolutely, I could never go back to that. So I
Yeah,
didn't.
that's I'm not for the abuse. Hell to the no.
Yeah. Like I said, if he could have been healthier with his emotions and less violent, we would probably still, or non-violent, we would probably still be married.
Well, do you think that's something that a lot of sisters should be kind of be aware of when going for or dealing with younger black men who haven't stepped into, or not even just black men in general, but men who haven't stepped fully into their masculine role yet, who's still dealing with that trauma from their moms or whatever the case may be, haven't worked through that and handled their emotions, got a handle on their emotions?
I don't even know if it's necessarily the young. It has to do with the age, and I think it has more to do with the family structure they had growing up. Because a man who grows up in a household where his mother is never hit or abused by the father won't have those tendencies to do that. They tend to be more emotionally disciplined. They know how to handle business. They understand how to function and operate as a masculine man. I think, it's because we have such the crack epidemic just killed a lot of this shit, the crack epidemic and feminism, jail. And we just don't have enough men in the homes. And that is taking a huge toll on both men and women,
Yeah. That's a fact. Nah, that's a fact. Now when you how long was it before you decided to start to date again?
Oh, it was like a year and a half. A year and a half after our initial split. And then once again, like we lived together probably only about a couple months, because once again, things got crazy and he had to get removed from the property. But it was like a year and a half, and we weren't living together at the time. And even then, dating was a dud. Like I honestly, I didn't really get in the swing of dating until about 2 or 3 years after I was, after our divorce. So honestly, it's a weird process, because when I was married, I did something in my brain to completely shrink myself and not become desirable and not to be appealing. I literally would, like, it's a certain way I would operate and maneuver because I know I'm a pretty woman, and so I would do whatever I could to avoid men's attention. And so it took me a while to break myself out of that, because it was so natural to me to like just be like, like small to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it took a while. It took a few years for me to pick that back up and be able to not be so awkward when interacting with men.
And did you find it was because before you was dating, you didn't have children, you hadn't been married before, so did you see a difference in how you were dating now, the type of qualities of men you were looking for, and things of that nature?
Honestly, I went viral before I got divorced.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like literally, and that probably went on and boosted it along, because that attention, boy, it'll do some to people. I don't know, but so because of that, I mean, I had a plethora of whatever, great quality men, and I did a lot of work in the community. So I was on campaigns. I was on the boards of stuff. I was on the radio in Jackson. So I, I didn't have a necessarily an issue attracting any certain type of man. I think what I had an issue with was recognizing that they're like, you don't need to be playing wife role. You don't need to act like a wife as soon as you start. Not and I'm an Aquarius, so for those of you into astrology, I'm definitely not the clingy type. But like, I would just be doing too much for, you're not necessarily deserving of that, And so I had to like remember, like, oh, okay. We don't cater until we have some history here. We don't do certain things. We don't do gifts, and we don't do this extra stuff until we see a certain level here to see where we're going. So I had to learn how to date with purpose, and not thinking that every man that was trying to talk to me was already ready to marry me. You know what I mean? Even though that's the kind of talk that was out there. Like, I had to remember that there was game, there's players. Like, it was kind of like remembering and configuring myself through there.
Okay. And what about as far as dating? Because you are a conscious sister, so I would imagine that you attract or you like conscious brothers. You know,
Absolutely.
How was that work? Because the conscious brothers, they can be a little, it can go either way.
I mean, men are men. Men are men. I've always, even with having to learn, readjust myself to the dating world. I mean, I still am was a very intelligent woman, so I wasn't stupid. But I did have to be like, oh shit, oh yeah, niggas be doing that. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, I don't. They've always been smart. Anyone I've dealt with has to have a level of intelligence because I'm a very mental person. But because the men I've dealt with are pretty awesome people. So you know what I mean. I don't have many complaints. It was just certain things didn't work out. For me, it's really distance sometimes played a huge role in dating. But I mean, honestly, the men that I've dated, they were very spectacular in one way or another. They were good-hearted. And sometimes they couldn't surpass their trauma. They couldn't get to a point where they wouldn't project their trauma or pain. Sometimes I didn't learn how to, create certain boundaries or whatever it is. So, things just didn't work out necessarily. But yeah, I wouldn't say I think that the men that I attracted were pretty awesome people and that, things just didn't work out.
I feel it. Recently there's been a lot of talk in the manosphere. Okay. You familiar with the manosphere?
Not really, but I've heard of it.
Okay. Yeah,
is it an actual channel or is it just like a
this is like a realm of the internet.
Okay,
male center content.
Okay.
But a lot of talk, over there, they love to be kind of going on single mothers, acting like single mothers can't get no love out here in these streets. They be trying to tell other young brothers not to be trying to go for the single moms and you should be taking care of another man's kids, blah 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 blah. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's the extreme to feminism. Like that's the men's that is the men's defense response to feminism. And why I can understand a lot of the points that they make because there are a lot of broken people. So on both sides, there's a lot of Black men that need to get themselves together. There's a lot of Black women that get themselves together. For me, I think it's a little bit different because I was married to both of my children's father. I don't necessarily get as many I don't think men, or at least I only go for men that go for me. So I don't have a problem with anyone. Everyone knows I have 2 children by my ex-husband. So I don't know. My ex-husband's still around. So there's as far as in their life, he's very dominant in their life. I see but I do see the talk about the single mothers. Here's the thing. I think that if you as a woman just make yourself the best you, no, whether you have children or not, you'll still be able to attract a man. I feel like women, I think we need to hear some of the critiques of how men view us. We need to understand how men view us so we can better operate to be more, copacetic with our men. And I think the other way around too, for men, they need to hear the extreme opposition as well, so they can see the range of how women feel about them. But the single mothers have a bad rap for being real extra with child support, using tools against the father, using emotions, because this white oppressive system has created such a dynamic. They know that the first thing they need to break is the Black man. And a lot of women don't recognize that once you break the Black woman, the Black man, the Black woman is next. And so they have played into the power that's given to us if we break Black men. And unfortunately, a lot of women are, it's emotional collateral, that a lot of men end up on child support and probably shouldn't be, could work things out and things like that. But, there's 2 sides to that. And there's definitely plenty of single Black women, single Black mothers that don't have that issue, that they are copacetic with their the fathers of their children. But I think it's a disgusting epidemic. I've done a lot of videos on those women that give single mothers a bad rap. But how about we just not have single mothers, period? That's, I would just like to not have single mothers. Let's make sure that we have our men around. Like, let's choose men that'll stay around. Let's be aware of the type of man that would not, the type of man that we would not be have longevity with, and let's know ourselves enough to know what's best for us as well.
Facts. Yeah, and even on the other side of that, there's a lot of, because a lot of the Black men who are, or a lot of the Black women who are, who do have multiple children or have children or are single mothers, there's a lot of them are to the same men. This is more Black women with children than there is Black men. But I did an interview with King Randall last week. He made a good point, like because of that, kind of unbalanced predicament that we're in with the women having so much more children, there should be Black men mentoring more kids, at least, or to taking up, having some sort of responsibility for other children, Do you think that's a part of like pro-Blackness? Shouldn't some
absolutely. If you're not trying to create relationships with children that are not biologically yours in the Black community, you're not really doing too much for the Black community. The reality is we have to get in here and start affecting these children's lives because they are our future. The way they feel about the Black community is going to reflect in 10, 20 years down the road when they're running our communities or they're the predominant figures in our communities. So we absolutely have to get in there. If you don't want to be a stepfather, that's fine, but be a coach, be a mentor to a few of these boys. Like it's not like you have to go out here and be coach to 50 children. Like if you have that ability, please, by God, please do that. But if you're someone, you have a skill that you could give a young brother, a young sister, like do that. You got to get in here. I've been working with kids since I was 13 years old, since I was a child. And one thing I know is that children just need love, man. They just need love and guidance. Give them something to do. Teach them a little something. It doesn't take much. Sometimes I grab the neighborhood kids and I'll be like, y'all want to learn how to make some jewelry? Like, just on some random shit, like just showing love, just letting them, you see them walking on the side of the street, give them a ride. Like just showing them that people care, that aren't necessarily just their biological family, so that they will have the tendency to care for people who aren't necessarily biological family, so that we can realize that we're all actually family, whether we're blood or related or not, and we could just take care of each other as a community as everyone else does. But we have been broken out of. We got to get it back together.
Yeah, that's that group thing. That's a fact.
Yeah,
B&B one. Yeah. I absolutely agree. Now, I am curious, though, on the other side of it, because you spoke about this a couple of times. You're pretty familiar with this subject. Polygamy, polyamory. Okay. Now, I would imagine a lot of brothers, especially because you've spoken on it, that they could probably try to approach you or try to get you to enter some sort of relationship, a poly relationship. How's your experience been with that?
Yeah, people, men, they, men be menning. I don't entertain many. So, it's like I don't entertain many people throughout these few years that I have been divorced. But, they do try. They be trying. I'm not, I do poly. I prefer poly. So, I tell a man, like, if you aren't the type of man that can handle multiple women, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be real with you. You're not the man for me. I actually prefer a man to deal with another woman or multiple women. I like those type of men. So yeah, I mean, I was poly before I knew what poly was. I was dating someone in Korea actually before I moved to the States that where we were poly, and that, of course, that didn't start out like it should have. But once I linked up with sis, I was like, okay, she cool. We could do it. We could be a poly thing. Now, it wasn't no homo shit up in there, just to throw that out. It wasn't no 3 ways going on in that motherfucker. But it's natural for me. I like poly vibes. So I think that more, I mean, the men are, of course, they're naturally already like wanting to do that. But I think that women, we need to get on board and understand that if you are already having a problem with your man doing this, then maybe it's in his nature, and maybe you should tell him, well, if you want me to accept this, or if you want this lifestyle, this is what I expect from you. You know what I mean? And then you don't have to be sneaky about it. And also, you know, for the men that are sneaky, that's real cowardly. We got to stop picking cowards as men, because that doesn't make for a good, strong community. We shouldn't be reproducing with men that are cowardly, you know? So there's two sides to that, you know, because men get excited when I start talking about polygamy, but you've been cheating on your girlfriend, like, you're a coward, dude. You're not a candidate for polygamy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you're lying out here in these streets and you're being deceptive, you're not a candidate for polygamy. So fix yourself, correct yourself, stop being a coward, stop being scared of the woman that you're dealing with. Be honest with her and allow her to choose the freedom to choose whether she wants to have that lifestyle with you or not. A lot of Americans, black, for those of us who have been over here, we don't necessarily, we haven't been acclimated to that lifestyle, or, we haven't adjusted to that, but it's something for us to look into, because it's something that's been natural to our people for so long. And because we're in an extreme situation too now. You know, I know ideally when we're talking about polygyny, in particular, you want to deal with a man who is, is wealthy enough to have multiple women. But we're at a level right now in the Black community where there is such a need for strong Black masculine men that we're going to have to start accepting some men who maybe not be there financially, but have all the other characteristics of leadership that we would need. And he would also hopefully choose women that are ambitious and can also help with the finances. Of course, we ultimately want to get out of that period, because men can be upset all day and they can say gold digger that, gold digger this. Black women are materialistic, but if you look at all the women of the world and all the races and all the communities, the majority is the man is going to be the provider, and that allows for us to be more feminine and more catering. I think a lot of men resent that, women want providers, because they might deal with women that are very ungrateful, and I don't know, that they don't cater to them and make them feel like, yeah, I want to pay the bills. You know what I mean? It's a way you can operate with a man and make him feel so nurtured and cared for. He's like, yes, I want you. I want to take care of you in every way. You know what I mean? Like, but we've kind of lost the art of catering to our men. We think that that's a bad thing. We don't, a lot of us wouldn't know left from right. So, it's still shocking when some women tell me that they don't know how to cook. And I'm like, bitch, you grown and you got a baby. What the fuck? I'm sorry. Yeah. But, it's just something that don't add up. Like, how are you feeding yourself? Like, what? McDonald's, bitch? Look, see.
Every night.
It's beyond me. It's beyond me. And the reality is a lot of women put up a front like, I'm this and I'm that and this and that. But at home, like they're wishing that and desiring that they had a masculine man. Like they wish that, but they'll sound off and be very argumentative towards men, but they're really aching for that. And women need to get out of their own ways when it comes to, that type of energy in regards to our men.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you think that's something that, do you think the poly lifestyles, that's something that specifically Black women, Black single mothers should be trying to open up, more to? Because even like, they dip back. It's a lot of the baby daddy, baby mama situations. They dip it back and forth. Okay. Yeah. So that's something they should open up to.
Yeah. But here's the thing, because I can't say yes to that without saying that some men need to be better about how they handle and how they manage multiple women, because, of course the kickback is, well, he don't deserve this and he don't deserve that. Well, he don't deserve this and that. It sounds like you shouldn't have been dealing with him in the first place. We want to deal with men, regardless of if you're poly or monogamous. We want to be dealing with men that are leaders, men that care about it. We should not even be reproducing with men that don't want to put into the community. Like beyond this family, this family that we have, our kids and us together, I want to make sure that you are going to be working for the community so that we can get the fuck up out of oppression. I'm tired of crackers bitching us. I'm sorry. I'm tired of them bitching us. And we should all be tired of that. And if we're really tired of that, we're going to stop dealing with men that are too feminine and start dealing with men that are masculine and that are leaders. And the men on the flip side are going to stop dealing with women that don't know how to be women, don't know how to be nurturing, don't care to go take care of the baby, sit her ass home for the first couple years of the baby's life, and stop wanting to go out to the club every weekend. You got to stop dealing with women like that. We got to stop dealing with the weaker links. Become the strongest link and link with the strongest motherfuckers, because this weak shit gotta go.
Yeah, and you know, especially for single mothers, and I can understand the hesitation in, you know, even choosing what men you want to bring around because of your children. You know, what is your experience with that? Do you?
I don't
like,
bring men around my children.
I was about to say, because you know some women don't. Some women choose not to date until they get 18.
I can't bring men around my children. I don't do that. You know, they met my first boyfriend after Phil, because I moved in with him and he actually renovated his whole garage for my kids. And the day he finished the renovations, I can't do it. But they only met him once, you know. So, I just, that's something I kind of, and I have my ex-husband, you know, is someone I would very much take into consideration, because I feel like if I don't know if it's going to last a long time, you know, I'll test the waters out, you know, living, you know, go move in and let me see. But, you know, I would have to be very secure, and, you know, that could very much happen. That could be very possible in the near future for me. But, you know, it's just, the reality is I don't even play those games. My ex-husband don't play those games. I'm respectful, and I also don't want to confuse my son or daughter into thinking certain things. You know, I like for them to, you know what I mean? Like, they, you know, they don't need to be in grown folk business. You know?
Yeah. I feel like,
however, I do, of course, if I'm dating someone, I'm gonna see how they deal with children, and, you know, I prefer to date men that have children, so that I can see how they treat their children, you know, and see how that would work. But yeah, so.
Okay. And well, you know, I see a big problem with, especially more so the baby mama, baby daddy type relationship, not as necessarily single mother, but there's a lot of manipulation that women try to enforce on men when it comes to them dating. Have you seen this? Have you seen, even if it wasn't yourself necessarily and your ex-husband, but have you seen this with other women in your peer group that have that, who have like that, you know, that not trying to get at their man, trying to control what their ex is doing?
Yeah, none of my friends do shit like that. I don't even hang around women like that. But have I seen that? Yeah. My baby daddy, my ex-husband, has definitely tried a few things in regards to that. And, you know, it's that emotional shit. People got to get emotionally healthy, emotionally balanced, control themselves, because at the end of the day, you have to look at what's best for the children. Yeah, that's disgusting. A lot of women are doing that. There's some brothers out there doing it too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In different ways, huh?
I said, oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, you know, for me, when the split was splitted, for a moment there was like my ex-husband, like, did not reach out or contact us or anything for about a month and a half, and my children were very young. And, you know, me being an Aquarius, I'm not going to reach out to you. But whenever you come through, you're welcome. So what I did was, after a month and a half, I was taking exams, and I was taking, you know, a breastfeeding baby to an exam, to my final exams, and my 2-3-year-old daughter, you know, in the hallway running around while I'm taking exams. So I finally broke down and called one of his closest friends, his best friend, and his friend held him accountable. And when I tell you, I called Corey, and maybe an hour after I called Corey, because Phil only lived down the street from us. He stayed down the street.
Wow.
And we were both going to the same college, you know, Jackson State University. So, you know, once I made that call, he was at my door now, and it's so important for us to hold each other accountable. You know, I've had some of my friends, you know, maybe thinking about doing some fuck shit, but I'm the voice in your ear being like, girl, I know that is wild, but look, I don't think you should do that. You know what I mean? Like, we have to hold each other accountable, because he surely came and got his kids within an hour of me calling Corey. He came right to the door, got his kids. We didn't even speak. I just opened the door, let the kids out, closed the door, and went about my way. You know what I mean? And then after that, he didn't do that again, but he definitely tried it. And I know there's a lot of women that'll take the kids from them, or you know what I mean. And it's we're using our kids as tools of our own defeat. You know what I mean? Like, you hurting yourself, you hurting your children, you hurting that man. And a lot of it's very unnecessary and highly unproductive. Yeah.
Okay, now I feel that, and that's actually going to sort of relate to this clip I want you to react to right quick.
Okay.
You might have seen it because it's drawing went viral, but I want your reaction to it right quick. All right, hold up.
Hello.
I don't want to talk.
But dang, how you doing today?
Good, I don't want to talk.
Why you always tell me that?
Because I don't like talking to you. I don't like talking to you.
But you won't even let me ask the question before you try to answer.
You just said, how are you?
Oh my goodness. Demi, why you so rude to your daddy?
I don't like talking to you.
But that doesn't give you a reason to be rude. You gotta honor your mother and your father, sweetheart.
Okay, I don't want to talk.
I get that much, but you don't have to be rude about it.
I said I don't want to talk.
I know that. I heard you the first 4 times, but you still need to stop being rude. That's the whole thing about it.
I'm telling you something and you're not listening.
Because I'm the parent, you can't tell me nothing. That's the thing.
I can express my feelings.
You definitely can, but you can do that without being rude as well. That's the whole thing. That's the key.
Okay,
you don't be rude and you don't be disrespectful. Okay, but you don't have to talk over me either.
I don't want to talk to
But you don't have to talk over me. So if you don't want to talk and you're going to talk over me, you could just be quiet and let me say what I got to say. You get that from your mama. But I love you when I...
Girl, you know, and here's the thing. And see, I'll tell my friends, sis, you might want to close your child's ears. Like, close your ears, because while you're saying that, or like, girl, you want to talk about, that while your child is in the room? There's not enough, like, women checking women on what we do around our kids. Like, yeah, like, no, that's not okay. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we don't know because we didn't grow up in a healthy situation. So we think that communicating this around our child is okay, or talking about this and sex and talking about dating and talking about, some is okay. Around, and I say that because I've heard things like this, and I've literally spoken up and said things when I hear some sisters and how they talk to talk around children. They don't even be talking to their kids. They be around their kids, dragging their baby daddy and dragging this and that, and there's a code. It's certain shit you don't talk about around your kids. Now the reality is, we get emotional, things happen, and you may talk to your girlfriends when you see your kid. Like if I'm talking to one of my girlfriends, my friends are always around. You know me, I'm always around my friends. If I'm talking about this nigga did this, blah 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 blah, and my daughter and my son walk up to the door, I'm like, let me shut the fuck up. Y'all go back to the room. Go back to the room. You cut it out. Like, I don't care how angry I am. Like, I'm going to control myself. Sorry, I got a text.
Yeah, I was about to say, I felt like something just stopped you.
Yeah, the text popped up. But yeah, we have to control our mouths. That's something. That's a huge thing that Black women can work on. I work on that constantly. But the reality is, I can control my mouth a lot better than a lot of these sisters out here. And it's ridiculous. That shit is heartbreaking, yo. Honestly, watching that clip is it's really heartbreaking. And then it's just so many things wrong with it, because little does she know, she needs her daddy. She needs her daddy, but her mom is saying, I don't need that nigga. You don't need that nigga. You can just imagine what the mother is saying around her daughter to make her daughter act like that to her father. And I don't know what the history is between the mom and the dad. Brothers, you have to treat the women better too. Like, the reality is, treat the women better, be more honest. But sisters, come on. Like, like, this shit is so toxic. And just imagine how she'll treat her man growing up. You know what I mean? How when she hit the early 20s and she's dating, what is that gonna be like for her? What are the chances that she's gonna get a man like that will deal with that motherfucking mouth? Like, it's just,
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the time it's stemming from, you know, like you said, the brothers do gotta, you know what I'm saying, treat
Do
the sisters
better.
better and, you know, stop lying and things of that nature. But this
Yeah.
is what they use. That's what they use to justify, you know, trying to get back at the husband. They do it through the children, you know.
It's not justifiable. It's never
Mm,
justifiable to use your children as weapons against the parents. It's never justifiable. It's
mm.
not justifiable, sisters. It's never justifiable.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And you know, even a part of that is I noticed that a lot of times, even if they're not trying to, even if it's not an intentional thing, I see that a lot of women, I mean, we're gonna talk about black women specifically. Black women, they will make their when they separate from their husbands or their baby fathers, whatever the case may be, they kind of use their children to replace that relationship with. Like they'll make the girlfriend, they'll make the daughter their girlfriend. They try to make the son their like fake ass husband, boyfriend.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I've definitely seen that. I've absolutely seen that and experienced that. Secondhand, whatever you want to say. What happens is like the moms, like once the boys hit a certain age and he could take out the trash and do certain things, now you got him doing other shit that really a man needs to be doing for you, or you're expecting him to soothe you in ways your man will be. You in here complaining to your son about your dating life. Stop it.
Mm.
Stop it. And you want him to console you. You want him to. You're teaching him out. Like it's no. It's a no for me. Yeah, it's a weird vibe for me. Like I said, it's like it's a certain level of understanding I have because I see what's going on in this world, but because I did not experience certain things growing up, it just be really weird to me. But I understand it's trauma. We got to work it out.
Yeah.
We got to work it out because that right there, and dating those men who have those type of relationships with the mama. 2 out of 10. Do not recommend.
Yeah, nah, hell no. If I don't mind about with kids, but if I did, he gotta have that shit in order. Like,
Yeah,
that shit gotta be in order. Hell to nah. Because I can't do it. I can't deal with the bullshit.
Yeah.
But I do want to know though, how are you? What are you doing with your children? Are you raising your daughter to be a wife, to be to
Oh
groom her,
yeah,
something
oh
like
yeah.
that?
We do roles around here. So like, even though my son may rinse the dishes, he doesn't wash dishes too much, and he's learning in the process of learning. But he focuses on taking that trash out. He gets all the trash. We have certain duties and certain things in the house that's already structuring. But I'll tell her like, come on, let's cook because you're gonna have to cook for your husband and your children. So that I ingrained that in my daughter. Yeah, I ingrained that in, and I tell my son, you have to open the door for the ladies. You have to protect. Make sure you keep that door locked, Aaron, because you're the male in the house. Keep the door locked. When you get older, you're gonna have to be able to defend the house. You know what I mean? And I say, I tell him like, even pumping gas. My son is 7, like, and he loves pumping gas. It makes him feel real masculine, and I love that. Like, he be like, "I'm pumping the gas now," and like, yeah, let's, so. I do certain things and I make sure that, they get that energy. Once again, they're around their daddy a lot too. And I also have them in extracurricular activities so they can get outside energy as well, as far as, outside masculine and feminine energies. So they can just have a more holistic experience, even though I am, not with their dad. I'm divorced from their father now. So it's certain things that, I definitely do to try to incorporate that. And I'm always incorporating the fact that we always want to focus on what's best for the Black family.
Is he like that to your ex-husband?
You said what?
Is he like that as well with them?
No, he's not. No. I mean, he's pro-Black, but that was my influence, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what was I about to say? Now you and your ex, do y'all have like shared custody, like joint custody?
We don't go through the court system. So there's no like I'm the parent that like my kids live with me and they'll go stay with their dad sometimes.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a big part of that, I was about to say a lot of times when women leave, I mean in general, not even just Black women in general, a lot of times the children go with the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that is a sort of can be used as a sort of manipulation or, like a tool women can use against men. But Do you think that some of these single mothers, do you think some of them should be given custody to their to the husbands? I mean, to their ex-husbands instead?
It depends on who's more stable, and who could provide a better life day to day for the children. So, naturally, I'm doing a lot better financially and in a lot of areas in life. So, and I'm a lot healthier, so of course, my kids are with me. I couldn't imagine, having a child with somebody and not having my child if we split, not being the parent with the child the majority of the time. Because I just feel like that's a woman thing. Like we're more apt to. I don't think as long as women are fair about it, I think naturally we tend to take that role because we're the caretakers of the children initially.
Okay. And what about as far as ones that's trying to date? Like we touched on earlier, it's kind of that can be a little iffy trying to bring kids or trying to bring men around your children. A lot of women don't even feel comfortable with that. Do you think for those women it will be a better idea for them to, relinquish the custody to the husband at least until they get into a
I just hate the whole idea of the custody thing. Like I just
or not it don't even gotta be custody necessarily. It could be like with you and your husband just switch, maybe primarily they live with the father instead of the mother.
I mean that may work for some people. For me, I wouldn't see that as a necessity because ultimately, if you're going to be in my life and we're going to have a committed relationship, you're going to be around my children and you're going to be a father figure. And if you're not interested in that, then you don't need to be dating me, period. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know about that. Like, if I'm going on a date, I'll plan that they're with their dad when I'm out on a date. You know what I mean? But I don't think that you have to give custody to the father just so that you can have a successful dating career. I think it can be managed with, you can manage it with children. I mean, if you're healthy and and you have energy to do things like that, then go for it. But yeah, I don't think that necessarily. I think you generally the woman is the parent that the children need to be with the most anyway, especially in younger years. So, I guess teen years, it's whatever. But you said what?
What about for the boys? At a certain age?
No, definitely. My son spends a lot more time with his father than my daughter does. So that, yeah, for sure. That's important. But I feel like the son needs to be around the father more so once he hits a certain age.
Yeah.
Because even when the son is young, he needs that mother nurturing energy. He needs, and the mom is gonna be more attentive to things. We take, let's be real. A healthy woman's gonna be a little bit more attentive at taking care of children than a healthy man. So
yeah, and it could be, that's a lot, or it can be a lot. Do you think some women can overwhelm themselves trying to take on, especially the ones who are trying to be, just by trying to be spiteful towards their ex-husbands, where they just like, these are my fucking kids, I'm gonna keep the kids because they might,
yeah, they can.
And then how do you think that affects the child too?
They being spiteful. I mean, it just depends on, the dynamics between the parents on how that's going to affect the child and, how the child has learned to deal with trauma. But I mean, it's awful because a lot of women will lie to their children about, the reason why their father's not around, or they'll, you know what I mean? So, I mean, things like that are despicable. And, we really, brothers, got to stop having sex with women that you can't see being a mother to your children. Like, even if you want to be casual with a woman, make sure she has the qualities of someone you think that would be reasonable. If you guys necessarily didn't make it in a relationship, but still would be emotionally balanced and mature enough to raise a child in a healthy manner. You got to stop just sleeping with women that you don't know. You don't know anything about her. She was just sexy at the club at night. Stop it. It's destroying our community. Stop it.
Nah, I completely agree with that for sure. Because carelessly sleeping with these women was a part of the reason why we got so many goddamn children out of wedlock. Okay?
Yeah, facts.
And so many wild ass women out of order weren't around this.
Not out of order.
Out of order, Lord. But yeah, even vice versa too, though, because women, you got to be careful with these men too. I'll be choosing to go back and have fucking 3-4 babies with this same crazy ass man.
Mm-hmm.
Outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
But what advice would you give to the young women that are trying to who are aspiring to go through the process you went through with marriage and settling down? Was you a housewife?
Yeah, I was. I was a housewife, and I was also a working wife. So they would be like when I was pregnant. Well, yeah, when I was pregnant the second time, I definitely wasn't working. I was definitely completely housewife then. So there was times when I was both. I was never not a housewife, but there was also times when I was a working housewife too. But I would tell them to become excellent in the areas of femininity. Really understand what being feminine is, and really understanding how to be soft. And if you have a problem in that area, touching into that, getting going deeper into how you can become more soft, or how you can learn to cook, or pick up a cookbook and start cooking, just practice, you know what I mean? Or look up ideas how to cater to men, and just certain things that a man would want, in a housewife. If you want to be a housewife, you have to make yourself a good housewife. Become a housewife, you know what I mean? Like, make sure you already have habits of being very clean in the home, and decorating and making a nice ambiance for the home. Be proficient in matters of the house, so.
What about those who are because a lot of the especially for younger, the millennials, Gen Zers, single mothers, I see. Well, there's a lot of talk. Let me say this is more so like manosphere talk too, but there's a lot of talk of like older men, going for younger women, especially for the single mothers more so because they're looking for, usually a man who's more financially stable. You have a child. What is something you would tell to those young women who are, looking towards, who don't have a problem with dating, the 30 plus crowd?
That's great. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
I mean,
as long as it's not like an extreme, you 21 and he's 62, there's a problem there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might, whatever. But men have been dating younger women since, forever. So, just make sure that the intentions are proper and that you are in alignment with whatever type of relationship you guys want to have. Yeah.
Right, that's what I was about to say. Because the only thing about older men, which I'm all for that as well, but there's that that sticky
sugar daddy.
You get into sugar daddies, even like manipulation. They just trying to use you, and the younger girls, they green, they get wrapped up in the fancy shit, the gold and the glitter, and don't realize it ain't gold. You know what I'm saying?
Just be aware, because men with money definitely can leverage their money to manipulate you, and when they do that, you just leave them alone. That's what I would tell sisters. You just leave them alone when you see that they're manipulating you with money. As soon as you didn't give them the answer they wanted, or you weren't available, you didn't pick up the phone call, and next thing you know, he's not doing what he has been doing or whatever. You just leave them alone. And don't ever allow money to be a deciding factor on whether you'll deal with someone. This is my thing, like, because you can get donations often, especially when you're in, in the spotlight or whatever. Let's say, you're dealing with someone who threw you some money. You don't ever like go bite for that. You make sure that, y'all have some type of chemistry for, you know what I mean? Like, deal with people that you have chemistry with, you know what I mean? But also, you definitely want to align goals and things like that. And if you guys have the right goals, you go forward from there. But if you're just looking for glitz and glam and that's all he's trying to do, and that's what y'all do y'all. But, for me, I'm more focused on relationships that are going to be lasting, that help the Black community build healthier Black families. So, I would tell younger women really to focus on the men that they could see themselves building a life with. And sometimes that is an older man. And sometimes it's not. And when it's not, don't allow the money to keep you lingering there.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to that super chat. You was a real one for the one real things.
Okay.
Appreciate you, my brother. Okay, Shawty, that was a perfect way to wrap this joint up. I appreciate you for coming on. Do you have anything you want to promote?
Yeah, my Instagram, y'all know my main Instagram just got deleted again, disabled. I'm in the process of trying to get it back. Don't know if I'm gonna get it back. So make sure you follow me on Instagram at Divine Stargate 1. YouTube, Goddess Aayanna. Facebook, Goddess Aayanna. And I have a lot of content on Facebook. And yeah, my website. Check out my website.
My bad. I seen some of your old, a couple of your old videos from Facebook up there. I think I like on YouTube or some shit. I seen like a couple people post some joints, but I didn't know you had been doing this for so long.
Oh yeah. You know, and I have like every year I have a few videos that hit millions of views.
Wow.
And then they mostly hit them on Facebook, but you know, it's harder to track the views on different platforms because I have a lot of viral videos on Twitter, and I'm never on Twitter. You know what I mean? And things like that. But yeah, I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. Been in the game a few years. Just a few years being this shit. You know what I mean? But definitely, yeah, check out my website, godpeace.com. I make orgonite, which are devices that absorb EMF radiation. They're art pieces, they're masterpieces, but they're also very healthy for the environment. They're good for people that suffer from PTSD, which is most of us. For those concerned about the 5G, this is what you need. 4G, 3G, all of that shit is bad and toxic for you. Bad vibes. And for people who are into metaphysics, it definitely helps manifest things faster because it puts so much energy into whatever intent you put into it. But yeah, it emits tons of anions. And for those of you who know about that, you already know it's super healthy for you. So yeah, check out my website, godpeace.com. Thank you so much for having me on here and having this discussion that I think is much needed for the community.
No, thank you for coming, sis. It's a blessing. I gotta bring you back for sure. We're gonna do something else. For sure. And I'm gonna keep make sure y'all follow her on Instagram. That's some bullshit. I hope you get your page back, because that's some bullshit.
Yes.
Honestly, that's wild as hell. But all right, Shorty, thank you again. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Peace, family.
Okay. All right, guys. That's all, folks. Appreciate your super chats. Appreciate the Patreon members in the building. Appreciate the moderators in the building. My boy my boy Five, my girl Jazz, King League here. I see y'all. I know y'all had to kick y'all out on the last one. Man, I had to put y'all on timeout on the last one. My bad, y'all. I was just joking. Y'all know I still rock with y'all. Y'all the real ones. Doing real things. But all right, y'all. Y'all know what to do. Make sure you follow me on the gram. _CFWM. Follow me on Twitter, Shota_you. Get me on Cash App if you want to do any donations, zezebih. Make sure you subscribe to the Patreon because this video is coming down today or tomorrow. Technically today because it's 12 o'clock. But it's coming down later. All right, in a couple hours. All right, it's going to be down. It's going on Patreon if you want to see it. I'm only going to put a clip on here, okay? And make sure you got my notification bell turned on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. All right, y'all. Make sure you go follow the girl on Aayanna on Instagram. Get her numbers back up. Order some God pieces, all that shit. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We out there, bitch. I'll be back tomorrow. All right, y'all.